Good morning students, Sai Ram. In today's session, we will revise some of the important concepts from chapter 1, knowing our numbers, and then we will revise important concepts from chapter 2, whole numbers. Students, you know these two chapters are included in your first periodic test. Let's see how many marks are carried by this test. Yes, it carries 20 marks and the MCQs will be there, MCQ type of questions which carry 1 mark and 2 marks, and there will be fill in the blanks and also true or false type of questions. Alright, so you have to read the question carefully, and there will be options for all the questions, and if they are if the questions are of solving type, then you have to solve them on a rough paper and click on the right answer. Alright, so it's very important that while writing the exam, appearing for the exam, you keep a paper and a pen along with you. Alright, now coming to the revision of important concepts from chapter 1, we are taking one more important question from exercise 1.2, that is the question is find the difference between the greatest and the least numbers that can be written using the digits 6, 2, 7, 4, 3, each only once. So these are the digits given and we have to form the greatest number and the smallest number from these digits using them only once. So how do we form the greatest number? We form the greatest number by arranging the given digits in descending order. So what is the number we are getting? The number we are getting is 76,432. And what is the least number that we can form from these digits? The digits will be arranged in ascending order to get the smallest number. So the least number is 23,467. So these are the numbers we get as the greatest number and the smallest number from these digits. Now what is the difference between them? We will subtract the smallest number from the greatest number and get the difference as 52,965. So this is how we solve this kind of problem. Now moving on to the next one. Yes, this problem is based on the estimation of numbers. So this question is to find the actual sum and estimated sum by rounding off to the nearest hundreds. So we have to round off the given numbers to the nearest hundreds. So what are the two numbers? They are 8,562 and 4,425. So for rounding off these numbers and getting the estimated sum, how do we proceed? Yes, we will first round off the number 8,562. We have to round it off to the nearest hundreds. That means here, this is the hundreds place. So what is the digit next to it? It is 6. Alright. So what do? We will round off this number as 8,600. As 6 is more than 5, so 562 can be rounded off as 600 and the number becomes 8,600. Similarly, the number 4,425, we have to round it off to the nearest hundred. So 4 is in hundreds place, and what is the digit to the right of the 4? It is 2. So 425 can be rounded off as 400 and the number becomes 4,400. Now when we add all these two numbers, we get when we add 8,600 and 4,400, what do we get? We get 13,000. Now let's see what is the actual sum. When actually we add the given numbers as they are, 8,562 plus 4,425. And what is the sum that we are getting? That is 12,987. So don't you think, children, the estimated sum and the actual sum are very close, isn't it? There is not much difference between them. They are very close. Now let's revise the Roman numerals. A few important concepts about the Roman numerals. Let's see what are they. Rule 1. If we repeat a symbol, its value will be added as many times as it occurs. So if we repeat a symbol, its value is added. And how many times a symbol is repeated? How many times a symbol can be repeated? It is repeated only 3 times, not more than 3 times. Alright. And there are symbols like V, L and D which are never repeated. Alright. They can never be repeated. And rule 3 is, if a symbol of smaller value is of smaller value and it is written, if a symbol of smaller value is written to the right of the symbol of a greater value, its value gets added to the value of the greater symbol, isn't it? Suppose we have 10 and we have 1. If we write 1 to the right side of 10, then it becomes 11. Its value gets added, isn't it? Now let's see what is the next rule. Rule 4. If a symbol of smaller value is written to the left of a symbol of greater value, its value is subtracted from the value of the greater symbol. For example, if we have, we can take the same symbols again. If we have 10 and we can write the lesser value, the symbol of lesser value, that is I, on the left of x. So this is greater, this is smaller, then this will be subtracted and the number is read as 9. It is 9. Alright. So when it is to the right, it is added, and when it is to the left, the symbol of smaller value, it is subtracted. And there are symbols that VLD, they are never written to the left of a symbol of greater value, isn't it? So VLD can never be subtracted, isn't it? Doesn't that mean that same, that V and D can never be subtracted? They can never be written on the left of a symbol of greater value. Let's see what is the here we have some of the questions based on the Roman numerals. Try to solve these problems on your own, or these questions on your own. Which of these letters is never repeated in Roman numeral system? We have just discussed which is the letter which is not repeated. I, C, L, X are the 4 options given. So choose the correct option. Now write 500. Second question is, write 500 is in Roman numerals. In Roman numerals we have some symbols for some numbers, isn't it? So find out what is that which represents 500. Now third one, Hindu Arabic numeral for X, L, V, I is A 48, B 58. So what is the Hindu Arabic numeral for this Roman numeral? You know X is 10, isn't it? X is 10, L is 50, isn't it? And L is 50 and X is written to its left, that means X is subtracted from L, that means the number becomes 40. And VII is 5 plus 3, 8, isn't it? So the number is 48. So which is the right option? 48. A is the right option. Now question number 4, Roman numeral for 85. What is the Roman numeral for 85? Let's see. L represents 10. L represents 50, and then we have 3x means 30, 10 plus 10 plus 10, and then we have V, that means 50 plus 30 plus V, it becomes 85. So this is the right option. The other option is wrong because it is L plus 10 plus 10, that means 50 plus 10 plus 10, then so it becomes 70. So the option B is the right option. Now let's start the revision of chapter 2, whole numbers. Let's revise what are natural numbers and whole numbers. So what are the natural numbers? All the counting numbers are called natural numbers. So we start counting from 1. So from 1 onwards all the numbers are natural numbers. And what are whole numbers? The natural numbers along with 0 are called whole numbers. Alright, so all the natural numbers are whole numbers, but all the whole numbers are not natural numbers, because natural numbers do not include 0. Alright, so natural numbers are from 1 and it goes on 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, and whole numbers start from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Okay, and what are predecessor and successors of numbers? How do we get the predecessor? We get the predecessor by subtracting 1 from a number, and successor, that means next number. How do we get that? We get that by adding 1 to a number. So, given any natural number, you can add 1 to that number and get the next number. Alright, so we get the successor. So, for example, if 1 is added to 16, we get the next number or the successor of that number, 16. Similarly, the successor of 19 we get by adding 1 to 19, that is 20, isn't it? So, successor is the next number which we get by adding 1 to a given number. Now, predecessor we get by subtracting 1 from a given number. So, the number 16 comes before 17. How do we get that? If we subtract 1 from 17, we get 16. Similarly, the predecessor of 20 is 19. How do we get that? We subtract 1 from 20 and we get 19. Similarly, we can find the successor and predecessors of numbers. Now, the number line. So, we have studied about the number line of whole numbers in the chapter. Now, let us revise it once again. Here you can see the number line, and the numbers are whole numbers. They are starting from 0, and as we move towards the right in the number line, you can see the numbers are increasing. So, any number to the right of a number, is greater than that. Okay, 4 is greater than 3. Similarly, 6 is greater than 5 and 7 is greater than 6. As we move towards right, the numbers go on increasing, and similarly when we move towards the left, the numbers decrease, isn't it? The number 6 is lesser than 7, isn't it? And the number 4 is lesser than 5, 3 is lesser than 4, 2 is lesser than 3, and 1 is lesser than 2, and 0 is lesser than 1. So, as we move right, the numbers increase, and when we move towards the left, the numbers decrease. Alright. So, on the number line, you will see that number 7 is on the right of 4. So, 7 is greater than 4, isn't it? And 8 lies on the right of 6. So, 8 is greater than 6. So, the number on the right of the other number on a number line is greater, and on the left it is smaller. Now, addition on the number line. How do we add the numbers on the number line? Suppose we have to add 4 to 3. So, what do? We start from 3. If we have to add 4 to 3, what do? We start from 3 and we make how many jumps? How many times we have to move? We will move 4 times because 4 has to be added. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 jumps or 4 moves we make, and where do we reach? We reach at 7. So, 3 plus 4 becomes 7. Alright. So, this is how we add the numbers on the number line. Now, how can we do subtraction on the number line? When we are adding the numbers, we move towards the right. We make the moves towards the right. But when we subtract on the number line, we move towards the left. Suppose here we have an example, 7 minus 5. Alright. So, we have to subtract 5 from 7. So, what do? We start from 7 and we make 5 moves towards the left. Towards the left we move 5 times, and where do we reach? We reach at 2. So, 7 minus 5 becomes 2. Alright. This is how we add or subtract the numbers on a number line. Now, you can see we have some questions here. which of the following is the smallest whole number? We have just discussed. You can decide which of the numbers is the smallest whole number. Second question, which one of the following is the smallest odd whole number? Alright, what are odd numbers? Which are not multiples of 2. So the smallest odd number, we can consider 1 as the smallest odd number. 3 is also there, but 1 is the smallest odd number. Now, question 3, how many whole numbers are there between 437 and 457? So, children, you have to count the numbers, okay, from between 437. That means 437 you don't have to count. You will start counting from 438, okay, until 456 you count. So, how many digits, how many numbers are there between them? It is 19. 19 numbers are there between 437 and 457. Now, and we have to add 1 to it. Sorry, it is not 19. We have to add 1 to it, and the difference between them is 20. Alright. So, between 437 457, or when we subtract these two numbers, 437 subtracted from 457, we get 20. So, 20 is the difference. Now, question 4. The number on the dash of the other number is greater number on the number line. So, we have just discussed which direction we have to go to get the greater number on the number line. We have to move towards the right. So, on the right side there is greater number. Now, question 5. The successor of 1 million is dash. Successor means, how do we get that? By adding 1 to the number, given number. So, here the number is 1 million. Which one of the options represents million and plus 1? We know 1 million is equal to 10 lakhs, isn't it? So, this number is 10 lakhs. 10 lakhs plus 1 is 10 lakh 1, isn't it? And this is the successor of 1 million, isn't it? Because 10 lakh is equal to 1 million. So, 1 million 1. This is the correct answer. Now, 6th, the predecessor of a smallest 3-digit number is dash. Two options are given, 101 and 99. So, what is the smallest 3-digit number? The smallest 3-digit number is 100, okay. And how do you, we have smallest 3-digit number as 100, and how do we get the predecessor of this one? We have to subtract 1 from this, and what do we get then? We get 99, isn't it? So, this is the right option. So, we have to see what is the next question. It is true and false based on exercise on the properties of whole numbers from exercise 2.1. Question 8. We have all discussed it earlier while doing the chapter. Once again we will do it. So, first one, 0 is the smallest natural number. Is it right? No. 1 is the smallest natural number, isn't it? B. 400 is the predecessor of 399. Predecessor means we get by subtracting 1 from the number. So, is it 400? No, it is not predecessor, it is the successor of 399. C. 0 is the smallest whole number. Yes, it is true, isn't it? 0 is the smallest whole number. So, we have this one false. We have the first one false, then second one is also false, and third one is true, isn't it? And then D, 600 is the successor of 599. Yes, it is right, isn't it? Successor, next number. we get by adding 1 to this number. So 600 is the successor of 599. E, all natural numbers are whole numbers. That is also right, isn't it? All the natural numbers are also whole numbers. But F, all whole numbers are natural numbers, are they? No, 0 is not a natural number. So all numbers are not natural numbers. So this is wrong. This is false. G, the predecessor of a 2-digit number is never a single-digit number. Predecessor means what? The number which comes before. So the statement says that the predecessor of a 2-digit number is never a single-digit number. This is wrong because we have a single-digit number 9 that becomes that comes before the 2-digit number 10, isn't it? So this statement is false. G is false. Now next, H, 1 is the smallest whole number. This is also false because we have 0 as the smallest whole number, isn't it? So this is also false. Now the next number is the natural number 1 has no predecessor. Yes, that is true, isn't it? Natural numbers start from 1. It has no predecessor. This is right. Now J, the whole number 1 has no predecessor. This is false because whole number 1 has 0 as its predecessor, isn't it? Then next, the whole number 13 lies between 11 and 12. Is it right? No, it is wrong because after 11 comes 12. There is no number between them. 13 doesn't come between them. Next one, the whole number 0 has no predecessor. Yes, this is right. Whole number 0 has no predecessor. Now next one, the successor of a 2-digit number is always a 2-digit number. So this is not a true statement. Why? Because we have a 2-digit number like 99, okay, and when we get we want to get its successor, we will add 1 to it, and what do we get? We get 100, which is the smallest 3-digit number. So this statement is wrong that successor of 2-digit number is always a 2-digit number. No, after 99 we are getting a 3-digit number, that is 100. Okay, so this statement is false. This is wrong. Now let's see some of the properties of whole numbers, that is mainly of addition and multiplication. Let's look at the first property, that is closure property. What does this say? This says that the sum, that means when we add two whole numbers, we get their sum as the whole number, and also the product, when we multiply two whole numbers, their product also is a whole number. So this is the closure property, and we say the whole numbers are closed under addition and also under multiplication. Okay, so the sum or product of any two whole numbers is a whole number. Okay, and we can say that collection of whole numbers is closed under addition and multiplication. Here we have examples. When we add two whole numbers like 4 and 5, we get 9. 4 and 5 are whole numbers, and their sum 9 is also a whole number. Similarly, when we multiply two whole numbers like 5 and 6, we get the product 30 also as whole number. Okay, so when we add or multiply two whole numbers, we will get the sum as a whole number, and also we get the product as the whole number. This is the closure property of whole numbers. Now what is commutative property? We can add or multiply whole numbers in any order. It doesn't change the answer. The result is not changed. Okay, so it says that we can add or multiply two whole numbers in any order. For example, we have 5 plus 4, and if we change the order as 4 plus 5, then also the result remains the same, 9. Similarly, when we multiply two numbers like 5 and 4, 5 into 4, or we multiply them in different order, 4 into 5, then also the result will be same. So addition and multiplication are commutative for whole numbers. This is the commutative property, that we can add or multiply whole numbers in any order. Now what is associative property? The sum or product of three or more whole numbers remains the same irrespective of the order in which they are grouped. When we have numbers more than 2, alright, so we group them together for easily getting the answer. Okay, so for the convenience of getting the answer easily. So how do we group them? It doesn't matter, the result will remain the same. When we are adding or multiplying the numbers, we can group them in any way and it doesn't change the effect. So this is what comes in this property, the associative property. We can group them in any order. For example, we have 1 plus 2 plus 3. So here they are 1 and 2 are grouped together and their sum we will add to 3. So 3 plus 3 becomes 6. If we change the grouping, if we group 2 and 3 together and add them and their sum is added to 1, that is 1 plus 5, then also we get 6 as the answer. So it is true that we can group the numbers in any way or in any by any method to get the sum. It doesn't change the result. This is the associative property. Similarly, when we multiply the numbers, 3 or more numbers, then also we can group them in any order. So here we have an example, 2 into 3 into 4. So first we have grouped together 2 and 3. So their product will be multiplied with 4. So 2 multiplied by 3 is 6, 6 multiplied by 4 becomes 24. And if we change the grouping, that means if we multiply 3 and 4, group them together 3 and 4 and multiply them, and their product if multiplied by 2. So 3 and 4 we get 12 by multiplying them, and if it is multiplied with 2 we get 24. So even if we change the grouping, the result remains the same. Now, what are additive identities or identity property in addition? When we add 0 to any whole number, we get the same whole number again. Like here we have example 5 plus 0, it becomes 5, or 0 plus 5, it becomes 5. So when 0 is added to any number, any whole number, the number remains the same. Okay, so we get the whole number again. So 0 is known as the additive identity for whole numbers, okay, or identity element for addition. So 0 is the additive identity for whole numbers. Now multiplication property of 0, we know that any number when multiplied by 0 becomes 0, isn't it? Multiply any number with 0, the number will become 0. This is the multiplication property of 0. And what is multiplicative identity? We have discussed it earlier. The product of 1 and any whole number is always the given whole number. If we multiply any whole number with 1, we get the same whole number, isn't it? So 1 is known as the multiplicative identity for whole numbers. For example, when we multiply 9 by 1, we get 9, or any other whole number when multiplied by 1, we get the same number again. Now we have some questions here. 218, first one is 218 plus 325 plus 382 plus 275. So we rearrange and group them, change their grouping and rearrange them in such a way that we get the answer easily, okay, conveniently. So what do? We will group together 218 and 382. This we do to get 0 in tens or in ones or tens place, okay, 0 in ones and tens place, so that finding the answer becomes easy. So here we know that if we add 8 and 2, we get 10. So we can get a 0 in ones place. So we have grouped them together, 218 and 382. All right, and if we add 5 and 5, we get 0 in ones place. So we can group together 325 and 275. And here we are getting 600, and here also we are getting 600 by adding them. and the answer, quickly we can get the answer, that is 1200. Alright. Here also we can arrange the numbers in such a way so that we get hundreds or the numbers which have at least one 0 in ones place. Alright. So we can group together 4 and 25 so that we get 100 here, and 42 multiplied by 100, that is 4200 or 4200. Now the next one is 5 into 115 into 20. So 20 and 5 we can group together, and 20 into 5 becomes 100. 20 into 5 becomes 100, and 115 multiplied by 100 becomes 11,500. So this way we can find the answer very quickly and easily. Now distributive property of multiplication of addition or multiplication, distributive property of multiplication over addition and subtraction. This also we have done in our previous. So this says that the product obtained by multiplying the sum of two numbers by a third number, okay, is the sum of the product obtained by both the whole numbers separately multiplying the numbers. Okay. So this means if we add two whole numbers and multiply another number with this sum, it will be the same as multiplying each of the whole numbers with the third number. Okay. That means 4 into 3 plus 2 is equal to 4 into 3 plus 4 into 2. If we do it separately, or if we add them 3 and 2 and then the sum will be multiplied by 4, the result remains the same. So in case of subtraction also, this distributive property is same. We have discussed this earlier in detail. So another example for this, for subtraction, is 5 multiplied by 7 minus 4 is equal to 5 multiplied by 7 minus 5 multiplied by 4. So this is the distributive property of multiplication over addition and subtraction. Alright. So this is what is distributive property. Now let us see some of the important questions here. Which of the following operations on whole numbers satisfy the closure property? Alright. So addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Which are the operations that satisfy closure property? We have discussed it, addition and multiplication. Alright. Second question, fill in the blank. 4 multiplied by 5 plus 3 is equal to 4 multiplied by dash plus 4 multiplied by 3. The options are given. We have just discussed the distributive property of addition or of multiplication over addition. You apply that and find the answer for this. Then third question, fill in the blank. 21 multiplied by 75 is equal to dash multiplied by 21. So this is also based on one of the properties. Think about that and find the correct answer. Question number 4. Which of the following is equivalent to 5 into 3 plus 8? Alright. So 4 options are given. You have to check and find out which is the correct option. Question number 5. Which of the following numbers is called the additive identity of whole numbers? That means which of the numbers which is added to a whole number and the number remains the same. What is that? Find it out. Then question number 6. Which of the following numbers is called the multiplicative identity for whole numbers? Which is the multiplicative identity? Which number when we multiply with a whole number and the whole number remains the same? Think about it and find it out. Now 7th question. The school canteen charges rupees 20 for lunch and rupees 4 for milk each day. How much money do you spend in 5 days on these things? There are two options, 110 and 120. So there are two methods also to solve this problem. Either you can separately multiply each number by 5, or you can group them together and do it. This explains the distributive property of multiplication over addition. So you can apply that and find the answer for this and choose the correct option. Now exercise sums these are from exercise 2.2, page number 40. So what is the first one? Find the sum by suitable rearrangement. I have told you why do we rearrange the numbers? For the convenience of adding, we rearrange the numbers in such a way that we get 0 in ones place and tens place. Alright, at least in ones place we have to try and get them, so that the addition becomes easy. Alright, so how do we rearrange the numbers here? It is 837 plus 208 plus 363. We can see that when 3 and we have 7 in ones place in this number 837, and in the number 363 we have 3 in ones place, and when we add 7 and 3 it becomes 10. That means we can get a 0 here. So we will group them together, 837 and 363, we will group them together. Alright, and we add them, and what do we get? We get 1200 or 1200 by adding them. Now adding 208 to this number is very easy, and we can get the answer very simply, that is 1408. Similarly, in the next problem we can arrange the given numbers here. 1962 plus 453 plus 1538 plus 647. So which two numbers are grouped together? 1962 and 1538. Since both of them have 2 and 8 in ones place, which can be added, and we can get 0 in ones place. And here the numbers 453 and 647 are grouped together, because 3 and 7 are there in ones place, and when we add them we can get 0 and in ones place, and also if possible in tens place also. So here we are getting 3500 by adding these two numbers, and we get 1100 by adding 453 plus 647. By adding them together we get the answer as 4600. So this is the way how we rearrange the numbers to get the answer quickly. Now next question, question 2, this is also from exercise 2.2. Find the product by suitable rearrangement. Same method applies here also. We rearrange the numbers so that we can get the answer quickly and easily. Here we can see that 50 and 2 can be brought together. First they can be multiplied so that we get 100, and when we multiply this number by 100 we can easily get the answer, that is 1,78,600, isn't it? So this is the way we group together and get the answer quickly. Now next one is 4 multiplied by 166 multiplied by 25. So 25 multiplied by 4 is 100. So we bring them together, and multiplying 166 by 100 we get the answer easily, 16,600. Similarly, question C, problem C, 8 multiplied by 291 multiplied by 125. So here we will bring 125 and 8 together and multiply them together first. So what do we get? 1000 we get by multiplying 125 and 8. Alright, and multiplying 291 with 1000 is very simple. We can add 3 zeros to the number at the end of the number 291, and what do we get? We get 2,91,000 as a result. Now here we have question number 7 from exercise 2.2. Let's see what are the questions. Which property will you use to solve? Here we have a expression. We have an expression. Which property it shows? 425 multiplied by 136 is equal to 425 multiplied by 6 plus 30 plus 100. So which is this property? By looking at it you can understand that this property is the distributivity of multiplication over addition. Now next one is 2 into 49 into 50. is equal to 2 into 50 into 49. So what are we doing? We are changing the order of the numbers which are to be multiplied. So what is this property? This property is the commutativity under multiplication, isn't it? Now the next one is 80 plus 205 plus 20 is equal to 80 plus 20 plus 205. So simply the order of the numbers to be added, it has been changed. So what is the property used? You can try and understand this answer. Then next one, it is we have some questions here which are to be practiced. All right. So what is the first one? 15 into 8 plus 15 into 2. So how can you simplify this and find the answer? We will take 15 as common and 8 and 2 first we add and then multiply them with 15. Okay. So here it is done like this, and 15 into 10 becomes 150. Similarly, you can see these problems also can be solved. 20 has been taken as common and 12 and 2 for the subtraction, 2 is subtracted from 12, and here we get 10 and 20 multiplied by 10, 200. Similarly, 290 multiplied by 105, 105 can be expressed as 100 plus 5, and 290 can be multiplied by 100, and then 290 can also be multiplied by 5, and both the products can be added. This is easy way of doing it, isn't it? Then we get 29,000 here, and 290 multiplied by 5 we get 1,450, and adding them we get 30,450 as the answer. All right. So this is the way we simplify and solve these problems. Now division by 0, this is also very important. Division of a whole number by 0 is not defined. We can understand that any number, if we divide by 0, okay, we will not the answer is it is not defined. Okay, we will go on dividing it and again we will get the same number. So it is not defined. Now here we have a few more questions. If the product of two whole numbers is 0, then one or both of them will be 0. Is it true or false? Find out. Okay, this is based on the property of 0. All right. Now second one, if the property of two whole numbers is 1, then both of the numbers will be 1. Is it true or false? If the product of two whole numbers is 1, then both the numbers should be 1, isn't it? Because any whole number multiplied by 1 will give the same whole number. So for this they have to be, both the numbers have to be 1. Okay. So this is true. This is true. Both of the numbers should be 1. Now moving on to the next one. You have to solve these problems. Successors, write the successor of two numbers are given. You have to write the successor of these numbers. How do we find? You find by adding 1 to these numbers. And then next question, write the predecessor. How do you find the predecessor? By subtracting 1 from these numbers, you get the predecessor. And these problems, the next one, find using distributivity. So distributive property of multiplication over addition, you have to apply that, and you have to find the answers for these kinds of problems we have solved earlier, isn't it? And next one, find 25 into 8,358 into 4. Arrange them suitably and find the answer. Next question, 625 multiplied by 3,759 multiplied by 8. So rearrange them so that you get the answer quickly and easily. This we have discussed in this session also. Now write the predecessor of smallest 3-digit number. What is the smallest 3-digit number? It is 100, isn't it? 100. So what will be the predecessor of that? The next one, write the successor of 1099. So how do we get the successor? By adding 1 to this number. Question number 3, the smallest natural number is dash. Which is the smallest natural number? Think about it and write the answer. Then fourth one, find the sum of 153 plus 207 plus 147. So arrange them suitably and find the sum. Question number 5, find the difference between the greatest and smallest numbers formed by using 6, 2, 7, 3 only once. We had discussed this also. So you do it on your own and practice. And I know you are all very good, you are all very smart, you can solve these problems very easily and quickly. So all the best children, study hard for your upcoming exam. From next week you have the exam. So you can do it in your best possible way. I know that. Thank you.